Okay, hi everybody. This video is going to be on creating shapes, simple shapes, polygonal shapes with the pen tool. For this particular exercise, you'll need to have your exercise template on your document, your pen tool exercise. When you bring in your template, it will show up in your layers list. You currently have a background layer of white, and the next layer would be your templates. Here it's named Pen Tool Exercise. You'll also need your path list and your toolbox. All three of those are available under the window pull-down menu, layers, paths, and here are your tools. Okay, so let's get started. A few things to think about when doing this, or that you should know up front, is that each shape will have its own layer. And when creating the shape, you will be creating a path that each shape has its own individual path to go with it as well. So we're going to be doing this simple number one here. We're going to use the pen tool. Remember that the path is not art. It's just a guide to tell the computer how the art is supposed to be arranged. And the layer is where the art is housed, okay? So we're going to create a white letter with a black outline. So you want to make sure that your colors are set to black and white. This is your foreground shape. This is your background shape. And you select those colors by clicking on the shape. We'll click on the foreground shape first. Double click that. And you'll see that it's black here. We could change it to red by just clicking this circle in the color picker. And it changes to red. But we want it to be black and white today. So we're going to come down here. And we're going to drag this down until the numbers here are all 00. You'll see that the numbers change as you scan through the color picker. That is the ID number for the color that you are currently hovering over. So we want it to come down here in the black and be at all zeros, because all black is 100% black is all zeros, 100% white is all Fs. Okay, so we want to select black for the background color. And we would select white by doing the same thing, clicking on the background color, double click on that, just a single click actually, and make sure that you're in the upper left-hand corner with all Fs, okay? So now we have our colors selected. We don't have to worry about colors. We have our paths list and we have our layers list. We're going to start by clicking on the pen tool and coming over to this number one on the template and clicking right on that upper right-hand corner. I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit. Okay, we're going to click right on the template, right on that corner. I want to be able to see the whole letter though when I do this. Okay, so we click on that endpoint, just a single click, and you'll see you have a little point on that corner. Okay, now there's a special function in Photoshop and Illustrator that allows you to draw perfectly straight horizontal, vertical, or 45-degree lines. Okay, all our lines here will be either horizontal or vertical. And if you hold the shift key and go to the next corner and click, you'll see that you get a perfectly straight line going across there. And you can look in your work path as well, in the little icon, and you can see that it's the start of a shape, that line is in there. Okay. Now, each point will have handles on it if it's a curve, which it's not here. And straight lines will have no handles, okay? So we can go right around this letter very simply the same way as we did the first line to complete the shape, okay? We don't have, it's not very difficult. Here's your second point. You'll come down to your third point and hold shift because this is a perfectly vertical line. Hold the shift key and just continue holding the shift key because these are all verticals and horizontals in this particular letter or number. And just click on each corner of the template until you get back up to the top. And you'll see that when you roll over the first point that you put there, a little circle ends up behind the pen tool. Okay, that's telling you that the shape is closed and you want all your shapes to be closed. Okay, so rolling over the top, the shape is closed. Okay. Now, you'll notice that there's a little eyeball on the left-hand side of this layer, which is your pen tool exercise template. Okay, if you turn that off, you'll be able to see your work path, okay, that you've just created. Right? That isn't a drawing, it's not art, it's just plotting the points to tell the computer where to put the fill and the stroke to create your art. Okay, I'm going to turn this back on. We're going to take a look at our work path. Now that we have our work path and we have it completed and that it's a work path for the number one, let's call that number one. Okay. And you do that by just clicking on the word work path, double click, and type it in. Number one. Okay, and you'll see that it changes the name in that path. Now that path is directly related to this number one. If you don't name it and give it a specific name, it would stay the name work path. But when you would go to create your next path, that would also be named work path and it would override this one and your path would disappear and be gone. Okay, so you don't want that to happen. Right, so now we have a path. We need a place to put this art. So we're going to create a new layer, and you can do that under the hamburger menu, new layer, or you can come down here to this little box with the plus in, which is the create a new layer box. That's going to be completely up to you. It works the same way. I typically use just the new layer up here, and you can name that and call it number one. Just like the path. Now you know that number one path, the path named number one, relates directly to the layer named number one. And this is where your art is going to be housed for this particular shape. Okay, and remember, each shape will have its own path and it will have its own layer. So number one, so far we have, I'm going to turn off our template again because we don't need to see the template to do what we're about to do. The path number one is selected, and you can tell that the path is selected because it's a grayed up here. Okay, see how it turns gray? That's how you know it's selected. You'll notice that all the little points are gone on it. That's because we're just viewing the path, we're not viewing the points. If you want to see the points or if you need to move the points to adjust them, use the white arrow or the direct selection tool, and you'll see as soon as I click on that and click on one of the corners, all the points come up again. This one's black, the rest are white. It's because we've selected this one. We can move this one now if we want to by just clicking onto it with the white arrow and adjusting it by moving it to a different position on the screen. We're going to undo that though because it's okay the way that it is here. We don't need to adjust it. All right. So the next thing we want to do is put an outline on this number. Okay, and we want to fill it with white. So what we'll do first, let's do the fill first. And in order to do that, you need to make this path active and activate what are called the marching ants. And you'll see why they're called the marching ants when we activate them. So we'll select our hamburger menu, come down to make selection, click on make selection. Don't worry about feather radius in this rendering box. Leave it at 0. We'll get to that when we start working with photographs. Click the OK, and you'll see you get a series of dotted lines that are flashing that look like ants marching. They're actually called marching ants with the within the industry with those who use this program. Okay, so now we have our path selected and activated. The marching ants will always tell you that your path is activated. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to fill this number, and I have it selected to fill. We're going to fill it with the background color, which is white. Okay, you won't be able to see the color change because it's on a white background, but we will turn that off and the background off, and then you'll be able to see that it's actually filled. Okay, so we're going to fill it with this background color, and we do that by selecting the layer, and you'll see that that's grayed. Once that's grayed, the path is no longer selected. Okay, you'll see that up there, that it's no longer grayed. When this is, and you can't work on the layer while the path is selected. So the layer is now selected, and it's ready to be filled with the color for your shape. So we're going to use white. You go to the top pull down menus under edit and come down to fill. And when you select that, you'll get a fill box, and it says contents. And in contents, there's foreground color, background color, color, which allows you to select any color, content aware, pattern, and history. We're not going to worry about these today. Okay. And then there's black, 50% gray, and white. We could select white from this menu, but we have it in our toolbox as the background. And I want you to select it from background color here, just to get used to selecting one of the foreground colors or background colors to create your image, okay, or to fill your image or to stroke your image. So we're filling it right now. We want to fill it with white, which is the background color. So we'll click on the background color and click OK. And now you can't see it, but that number is actually filled with white. We can tell by clicking on the turning the eye or the visibility layer off on the background, and you can see now that our number is white. Okay. You can also see that we still have our marching ants because we haven't released them from doing their job yet. Okay. So while we're still selected on layer number 1, number, we're going to go to, again, to edit and come down to stroke. And in stroke, we want to select, it'll come up with a width and a color in the stroke box. We want to use 6 for our width. And what that's telling the computer is to put a 6-point stroke on our object. Okay, wherever the marching ants are, it's going to, that's where your stroke is going to go. Okay, and the color is already selected as black. So that's good. Okay, we'll take that. It's also the foreground color over here. This will automatically pick up the foreground color as your stroke color. Now, location, inside, center, and outside simply means it's going to put that stroke either on the inside of the marching ants, this right on top of the marching ants for center, or on the outside. We're going to select center and click OK, and watch what happens. Okay, we get our first shape, and it's now filled and stroked. It's filled with white, stroked with black, and we can turn off the background. And you'll see that you indeed have created that shape and filled it and put a black stroke on it. Okay, I'm going to turn the background back on, and I'm going to turn the pen tool exercise template back on because we're going to look at one other thing in this exercise. Okay. You'll see you still have the marching ants. You can release the marching ants by either going to the select pull down menu at the top of the interface and come down and hit deselect, which is the second one down on the pull down menu, or you can simply hit on the PCs, it would be Alt D. On a Mac, it's Command D, and you'll see the marching ants disappear. Okay, now you have that number one as an actual piece of art. You've created your first shape. Let's come over here to the letter A, okay? Because there's something special about this letter that you're going to need when creating the rest of your projects, okay? It has two shapes to it, as you'll see, okay? It has the outside part of the A, and it has the hole in the middle, okay? Think of that as a triangle, and then this as the shape of the A. So what we'll do is we will create a new layer, and we'll just call it A, and click OK, and you'll see that new layer comes up in the layers menu. And that gives our shape, the letter A, our letter, a home to rest, okay? So we'll need a new path to create our letter. So let's select our pen tool, click on a corner, and you'll see it opens up a new path called Work Path, all right? We're on our corner. We could do the same thing we did before, holding Shift for the perfectly horizontals and perfect verticals, and just go around the letter. Now, you must release the Shift key to do this line because it's neither horizontal, vertical, or on a 45-degree angle. So this one you're going to have to eyeball and come down to that corner, just click and release, and it puts in the path line. Okay, and then again, you can hold Shift to make this complete horizontal, complete vertical, still holding Shift, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, but now we need to release the Shift key again to make this line because, again, neither horizontal, vertical, or on a 45-degree angle. And it's just to make this now, we can hold the Shift key again because it's completely horizontal. Release to make the next line, hold to make this complete horizontal, perfect vertical, perfect horizontal, perfect vertical, perfect horizontal, release the Shift key, click and release in that corner, it makes the line, hold Shift to make the perfect horizontal, and when you get to your first point again, roll over it, hold Shift, and you'll get that circle behind the pen tool, which tells you you're now closing the shape. And we've completed the outside of this letter A, okay? Now, I know I told you that each shape will have its own layer, okay? In this case, with the letter A, we can put that hole in there on the same path, work path, as we have the outline of the A because it's part of the same shape and we've closed the outside of the shape. So you can simply hold Shift and click on a corner in here, okay, and make that horizontal and make this shape. Now you have to release the Shift key to make this line and then close up the shape again. And now you have the inside of the letter A, and it's on the exact same work path as the outside, okay? So now we have both paths on one work path because it's all part of the same shape, all right? This is only done when you have a hole in the shape, like the A would be solid, and then there would be a hole in there that's represented by this rectangle or triangle, all right? Now, again, if you select the black arrow, which is nested under the white arrow, okay, these little triangles in the corner tell you that there's other tools nested underneath, like this lasso tool underneath it has a polygonal lasso tool, a magnetic lasso tool, okay? The white arrow is the direct selection tool. The black arrow is the path selection tool. Direct selection allows you to, the white arrow allows you to choose individual points, okay? You'll see that one's black, the rest are white. The black arrow allows you to select entire paths, okay? So I'll select that out exterior path. You'll see that all the dots are selected. Now, in order to select this inside one at the same time, simply hold the Shift key, and that will allow you to select multiple paths with the black arrow. And you'll see, click on the path, and you'll see that now all the points that you made are selected. So let's go ahead and make our path active. Make selection. Again, the feather radius remains 0, and you'll click OK, and you'll see that the letter now has the marching ants, so we're active and we're ready to go. We can put our color in it, and we can put our stroke on it. You want to make sure you're selected on the A path or the A layer, okay? And go to the pull down menu, Edit, Fill, and the background color is white. Let's do it this way this time though. Let's come down here and tell it to just fill with white and click OK. And it filled it with white. And now we'll go to the Edit pull down menu again, Edit, Stroke, and it's already at 6 pixels because it remembers what the last reading was that you put in there. So we want it to be at 6 pixels, center, and the color to be black. Click OK. And now we have the letter A. And you can go to select, deselect, to select, deselect, to release the marching ants, okay? So we'll turn off that background color again, and we'll turn off the template. And now you'll see that you have the number 1, okay, on a separate layer. We can turn that layer on and off to view it. And you have the letter A, and that's on its separate layer, okay? And now remember, we want to rename this work path. So double click on that and call that just simply A. And we'll click OK. And the A path matches up to the A layer. The number 1 path matches up to the number 1, okay? Now, why is this important? If we have to go back in and edit this letter, let's say that we don't want a black stroke on it. Let's say that we want the stroke to be red, okay? We can simply click on our A path, go to make selection. We get those same old marching ants back up there again. And now we can go to, if we click on edit, edit stroke, up, I have to click on the, I wasn't clicked on the layer. Okay, there we go, click on the layer. Edit stroke, and click in the color box. It opens up the color picker, and we can pick red. And you'll see that it changes the color there. We click OK, click OK here, and it changes your stroke to a red stroke. And we didn't have to redraw the path in order to do that because we just simply made the path active over here again. Okay, so we want to turn that back to black. On your exercises, keep everything black, black and white for to begin with. Okay, If we wanted to change that back, we would just simply now click on the edit stroke, click on the color box, make it black, and click OK, and OK, and we're back to having a black stroke. Okay, that is creating polygonal shapes using the pen tool, the path list, and the layers list, and the template to create the polygonal shape.